What is going on, guys? It is Dan the Man, aka Daniel's son, and like I said, we were gonna do a spoiler but breakdown the 100th episode of The Walking Dead. Joining me and will be joining me throughout the whole season, the Theokayesttaylor, the beautiful Taylor.
Hi guys, how are you?
So, we were both a little hesitant, but still excited for The Walking Dead to come back on because last season, to me was such a dud, and we discussed last season and how the problems it had and some of the good things it had. So going into Mercy, before we start breaking it down, what was your overall thoughts on the episode on Sunday?
My problem really lied with I guess the directing or the editing. I felt like a lot of scenes kind of lingered on a little too long, where I would have rather had that time spent on some more important things. Overall, I thought it was pretty decent. I didn't have a lot of problems with any acting. I just don't think it really held me as a premiere episode, especially the 100th episode.
Very true. Like the acting was fine. Honestly, yeah, I felt like the episode was good. Like it wasn't terrible. It wasn't overly exciting. I think the problem I had with the episode was just the overall kind of like how it feels so fake at this point. Like everybody's shooting around, everybody's shooting windows out, and how unrealistic it kind of all is, and just it really felt like a movie set. It really felt like I was still on the set, and some of the camera angles maybe should have been a little bit better to make it feel more realistic. But I really felt like it was very fake in the episode.
And maybe you're hitting on how I felt about maybe just some of the editing and just the overall cinematography, because I mean that stuff means a lot when I'm watching a TV show, and I'm more into TV than I am with movies because there's a different expectation.
Mm-hmm.
But I just found it very interesting, when they roll up on the Savior's compound, that, Rick is supposed to be this incredible marksman, and for the life of him, he couldn't hit Negan. And I understand if that's not how they want to have Negan go out, but don't sit there and taunt me with that, because I know that Rick can shoot, and he's missing him with a semi-automatic rifle, and I just didn't appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, and such a close range too.
Yeah, it was
Um,
very close.
so I mean, it's just the way they were holding their guns too. Just the way how it just felt like all choreographed. It didn't feel like more of like a war zone. It just felt like a choreographed war zone to me in the episode, and not really any deaths, not any major deaths, not any even the saviors didn't really. I mean, just the when they got sneak attacked in the
Mhm.
episode. But it just really felt like very fake to me, and I don't think I've. It might be over the because we're in a season 8 and now everything's kind of just feels like, but that's the 100th episode really felt like it was kind of a letdown in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed watching the preparation. The metal workers putting the sheets on the vehicles and all that. And I actually did enjoy that scene where it was like a one take where the camera is literally on, what do you call
Oh,
it? Like it's
yeah,
got wheels on it, but yeah, they just scrolled through this grassy field, and they're catching, different characters talking, and that was done in one take. I appreciated that.
I really like that, but I mean, for editing purposes, you want them to shut up after they go on to the next character.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, they just shut up right in the exact moment they need to shut up. But so it was that kind of threw me off. But I did appreciate a
Mhm.
little bit of direction in this episode, a little bit of different, direction in previous episodes. Yeah, I really love that shot, that little Goodfellas kind of shot going on. But yeah, it was a little bit odd how they were saying their little bit, and then it would just be quiet. The camera wasn't like away from to be quiet yet.
What did you think of the zombie horde team that was sent out to kind of lure them? We had Carol, Tara, Daryl, and Morgan out there, kind of leading them to the saviors. What did you think about that whole preparation and interaction?
I thought that was smart to use definitely the horde of zombies to go
Mhm.
after this. I mean, if you don't have the manpower to take out the saviors, then why don't you just use the dead?
Right.
Makes total sense. Reminds me of I can't remember. I don't think that's in the comic book either, but I think they stole it. I think they used some of the comic. There's some things that happen in the comic like that, so I
Hmm.
think they use that just in a different. It's a different timeline in the comic. The one thing that annoyed the shit out of me though, while Carol and Tara were waiting for the zombie horde, was Tara
Yeah.
herself.
I agree. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just at first I didn't care for the character. Like it's Tara, she's fine, whatever. But then I was thinking, like, they have so many characters on the show. Why is Tara still alive? And why do we exactly need Tara? She's just kind of, I don't know. She's just annoying me at this point.
My problem lies with the lack of overall development. She had her shining moment in the governor story arc, and after that, she was sidelined for the longest time until last season. All of a sudden, she was kind of thrust upon us because why? We lost two really important characters, and honestly, I just don't care about somebody that I haven't been able to watch grow because you didn't put the time in to develop her until you need more people for us to care about. And I just don't care about her.
I think that's the problem with overall just a lot of these characters at this point. One thing I really loved about the episode was it wasn't really focused on the character you need to focus on
Yes.
is Rick. I mean, Rick, it was kind of back true to form a little bit. Even though a lot of the execution in the episode didn't necessarily work, what worked was at least having to focus on Rick. And I want to ask you this question is since we're going to break down the episode, let's start with the beginning. Let's start with those time lapses. You had old man Rick, you had speech Rick, and then you had Rick looking like he was crying. So, what did you think about all that happening in the beginning?
Um, I'm the kind of viewer that when I watch something like that, I assume that I'm supposed to be paying attention and taking something from it, like there's a hidden meaning or something that's going to be called back to later. Because one of the first rules in theater is if you establish a gun in the first act, you need to use it in the third act. And I was just trying to figure out where they were going with that, and I just didn't feel like by the end of the episode, the old man Rick thing and the switching between timelines really made sense as a whole. And what I found really confusing was the fact that Michonne hadn't aged up. And to me, the only thing that I could think they were trying to hint at was that Michonne isn't going to last, because if Rick severely aged, we saw Carl, you know, was supposed to be older, and especially Judith. I mean, Michonne just looked like she was almost like a ghost. Like that's what he could have imagined if everyone made it, if they were alive years down the road. But the fact that Michonne wasn't aged at all kind of really stood out in that part.
It doesn't worry me with Michonne because there if you read the comic books and you're at the point where the comic books are, you know that it's just a huge kind of spoiler to everybody with the fact of old man Rick appearing,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think that's a dream sequence. I don't think that's him imagining what life would be uh once it's all over. I think that's exactly what's happening at that timeline that they're showing us. I think Rick is actually that's actually legit old man Rick, and that's actually Michonne and Carl and all them when all this is over. I think they're gonna go back to it at the end of the season and
Mm-hmm.
show off like, oh yeah, this is actually not a dream. This is actually old man Rick waking up.
So I guess since you put it that way, because I didn't read the comics, so I'm a TV show only watcher. I have that going for me. Do you think that season 9 is going to be a big time jump then?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think they said that the all out war is being concluded at the end of this season, and then we're gonna get into probably more other stuff, especially Robert
Mhm.
Kirkman saying like, yeah, he has plans of where he has different plans of taking the comic book where they are right now, and they have enough material to jump into a time lapse next season. Depending on the ratings, I don't know how well this did.
Yeah.
I don't know how long they want to do it for. I'm pretty sure the actors are kind of. They look tired. They look like they're kind of tired of.
I agree. The one thing I really thought about, Dan, is these guys have been doing it for 9 years now, and an interesting interview that I read with Kit Harington from Game of Thrones is he openly admitted in an interview that he actually got lazy around season 5 when playing Jon Snow. He's like, I just felt like I was playing the same person. I've been doing it for 5-6 years, and I can only imagine that Andrew Lincoln, Melissa McBride, and
especially Norman Reedus. Reedus looks like they're not giving anything for him to do.
And I will touch up on that since you brought it up. I loved the Rick and Daryl team. If Rick is trying to feel somebody out and Daryl's like, I don't trust this motherfucker, and if you want me to, I'll take him out. And they just having each other's back and all that. And he's way quiet now. He's not engaging with Rick anymore. I'm not seeing that brotherhood. I mean, when we had the mid-season finale last season, right?
Yeah.
They saw each other and there was that huge emotional hug. And I feel like now looking back, that scene was kind of for naught because, Rick is up there by himself, with Ezekiel and Maggie doing all these speeches, and Daryl's just sitting off to the side, not doing or saying anything,
Yeah, exactly. You hit it right in the head. And then in this episode, we had, of course, Daryl shooting that arrow into Dwight's bike, and then, I mean, he had that. He was doing some special op kind of mission with Dwight, giving him the info on all their like little posts and stuff. I like that aspect of it. Like, Dwight kind of becoming a traitor and helping out Rick and his crew. But with Norman Reedus and Daryl, you're absolutely right. It's kind of the same situation where I was before Glenn's death. I think they dropped the ball on that because before it was more of Rick and Glenn, because Glenn's the one that saved Rick, and that was the brotherhood, and then it's the Trinity. And we saw that Glenn had kind of Rick's ear, but they dropped the ball on that, and then Glenn just became somebody who just like was constantly looking for Maggie.
Yeah.
And then he died, and then that now they're making, Maggie's making these speeches and Rick, but you never felt like Rick should have been devastated on that death, like super devastated along with Maggie more. Same with Norman Reedus and Daryl. Daryl has, I've said it lots of times, they don't know what they're doing with Daryl anymore. Daryl's not the same Daryl as he was in the past. I miss my Daryl, who was kind of had a spark to him, but right now he's just there's nothing. Even with the interaction with Dwight, which I thought would be a little bit more interesting moving forward,
right?
It's not very interesting because they're kind of the same character if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. And I never expect to see prison arc Daryl again. I mean, that was the whole point of his character shift going into season 5 was, he went through some stuff. He was riding with that other gang for a while. When he went out on his own and he thought, he could try to change these guys' views on things and realize that, these people just aren't the people that I'm used to. And you got to see his like inner workings, and now I'm not seeing that from him, and they're completely underutilizing him as an actor, and it kind of frustrates me because I've watched a lot of his credited works, and I've seen him from when he started The Walking Dead until now. Outside of The Walking Dead, I've seen his other works, and they're completely underusing his talents that he's developed over these 8 years.
Oh yeah, especially this episode. He didn't have. I don't think he even had a line. Honestly, they just really showcased him, just kind of like setting up the plan. Putting the plan in motion, blowing up all these barrels to leave the horde.
And here's the thing, the coolness factor doesn't carry on for so long. I mean, you can't have him just riding around blowing up stuff and not saying the stuff that made him Daryl. There's just something about him that's really direct and to the point and doesn't beat around the bush. Even after his huge character shift, he's still,
yeah,
he's still going to tell you the way it is.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we only had a little bit of goodbyes with him and Carol, There wasn't like a whole scene there. It was just, well, bye, be careful, this and that. Um, Norman Reedus, hopefully going forward, gets more of actually interaction and actually, lines being delivered, because Norman is kind of like that person where he only gets a few lines every episode and that's it. Like you said, they're just kind of keeping that cool factor.
They are keeping
which
that cool factor.
It's such a wrong move to do. And I think that's why a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people, it's not if Daryl dies, we'll riot anymore. It's if Daryl dies, well, Daryl is dead. It was bound to happen.
Yeah, I was definitely on that train back when I was watching his character have more of a purpose. And I mean, you and I kind of touched on this a little bit the other night. There's no safety for him anymore that I can see. If I see him die, I won't be upset because I'm losing a beloved character. I'll be upset that I'm losing a character that they underused and was able to just toss in the bin, And I think it's because he's not a sorry, I'm sick. I think it's because he's not a comic character that just handing him little pieces of characters from the comics and, trying to write something for him to do. The talent that he showed in his audition was the reason his character was created to begin with. Why are you letting him die out? Why are you letting the flame go out?
Oh yeah, perfect way to say it. Yeah, and I think it is because he's not in the comics, and I think also it lies on Scott Gimple, which we'll get to later on. But let's head back a little bit. So this is the 100th episode of The Walking Dead. So of course I heard Scott Gimple talk about a lot of the callbacks that they were going to bring back from previous seasons that fans are going to notice, and some maybe they have to really kind of look to see some Easter eggs, this and that. The one in the beginning of this episode, after the confusing time lapses, which I think was absolutely a bad idea to do with Rick, we had Carl. We had Carl doing exactly what Rick was doing, looking for gas. You had the woman in the wardrobe, the lingerie. You had Carl looking underneath the car. You get introduced to a new character that a lot of people are suspecting is a character from the comics. So maybe, and so yeah, I mean, what did you think about that whole scene? And of course, Rick scaring off the character, and then Carl telling them like, hey, he just wanted food and this and that. And then later on, Carl brings that guy back some can of food.
Well, Carl is that kid that he was so young when this all started. And I guess it is that stereotypical father-son relationship, where you want to prove that you're capable of handling stuff like that, but your parents are just being overprotective and stuff like that. But you can almost understand where Rick is coming from because if he loses Carl, then he's only got Judith and Michonne. So, but at the same time, Carl has been so hardened by this that he can handle that. And Carl wants to believe that there's other good people out there. He's dealing with the saviors, but at the same time, he knows that not every living human is going to be that way. And he feels like opening the door to these people is just going to make Alexandria stronger. And having Rick chase him away kind of undermines Carl's attempts to practice being a leader and practice making those decisions.
And let's talk about Carl. I mean, and then later on in the episode, we had when there was another kind of like it was really confusing with the editing, of course, with Rick and Maggie's and Ezekiel's speech, and then going to Rick going off to the compound, Negan's compound. But in the one scene, Michonne doesn't go because she's still badly injured, and so is Rosita, looking on while Rick and company go. And then Carl, knowing that Michonne wanted to go, wants to go as well, but Michonne says we need to defend this place, and then you're the one that calls the shot. You're the one that's calling the shots, boy. You're the one that's going to keep this compound safe too. So with Carl's character, do you think there's going to be? Are we finally going to get some Carl becoming, because we've always like questioned like, okay, when is he going to become a badass? He's pretty much the Arya of The Walking Dead. where Arya is to Game of Thrones, where he's done all this stuff, but yet he has yet to become that badass that we have yet to see. So do you think that Carl's going to have a bigger role moving forward, or do you think Carl's still going to have the same role he has in previous seasons?
I'm really hoping that he does have a bigger role, and that's because, I mean, Chandler's had a lot of time to learn how to be an actor, and I hate when people shit on him because of his age and how he's acted in previous seasons. He was a kid, guys. You can't expect a lot from child actors, but he's had that chance to develop, and whether or not he wants to go into future roles is up to Chandler. But I mean, I would love to see Carl have more lines and do, you know, stronger things and practice being a leader, because I feel like, you know, he's the next generation. You know, he's going to have to replace his father at some point, and to have it suddenly happen would disappoint me, rather than build up and see him grow and see him make mistakes and learn from those mistakes.
And that's the question: is like, do you think they'll ever kill Carl off on the show?
No, I don't think so.
They might, honestly. I think I heard somewhere like Chandler Riggs had some things coming up. Of course, you know, he's still, like you said, he was a kid, and now he's what, I don't know how old he is, but he's definitely a teenager.
I noticed something interesting. Back to that time skip sequence that we saw. Carl's back was to us. We could still see his long hair, and it almost sounded like his voice was deeper, but maybe that was just Chandler trying to, you know, seem older. I would actually hate it if they recast him for the time jump. That would kind of disappoint me a lot.
Yeah, it would. I mean, it'd be nice to keep. I always say it's nice to keep the same actors going.
Obviously,
throughout.
you can't do that with Judith, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, well, Judith is not really a major player, honestly. Right. With Carl, and I don't think it's that big of a time lapse, honestly. I don't think it is. I don't think it'd be a big time lapse as we think it's going to be.
I saw the live after show, and Chandler had some facial hair. He can probably grow himself a little scruff and pull it off.
Well, he's almost there. He's almost there, getting that beard going.
Yeah.
He said he really wants to be his dad. He wants to get that beard going.
Yeah, that's where it's at, having that man scruff.
I think it's required for the zombie apocalypse that you at least need to have at least a beard.
Unless you're Negan, you know, and you have access to all those barber.
I don't know. I saw a little bit beard coming back from Negan. Yeah, scruffy looking.
So, what was your opinion on Dwight in this episode?
My opinion on Dwight is, you know, I think it was interesting. He had me interested definitely in this episode because of he has to play the rat. He has to do everything that Rick wants him to do. He's putting his life in danger in order to take out Negan. Yeah. After this skirmish, Negan's gonna know that somebody is feeding Rick intel for sure. He's already suspecting Eugene, but Negan's not stupid. So I really feel like Dwight, he'll put his sights on Dwight. So with Dwight, it's always interesting to see somebody turn rogue and somebody turn their back on what they were believing this whole time or what they've been doing this whole time. So Dwight is a conflicted character, which makes him automatically kind of interesting because he's doing things that's risking his life. And I'm rooting for him a little bit. I'm not totally sold on him because it's Dwight, but I am rooting for him a little bit. I have a little worry for him when it comes to doing a lot of things that Rick wants him to do.
We have Vinicki here in the chat, so we'll say hi to Vinicki. And she actually has a question. She says, there aren't comics in my country for The Walking Dead. Is there any novel that completes the series besides those comics?
Is there any what?
She says, is there any novel that completes the series besides those comics?
No novel, unfortunately. Right. We have there's novels about the governor's backstory. I think there's about like 3 novels out there. I think 2 of them are the governor and another one's for another something else. But honestly, you can get the graphic novel via Amazon or eBay, and it's one huge book, one huge comic book, and it goes from like so many issues, and it's huge, big pictures, everything. So I suggest getting like the big graphic novel of The Walking Dead. Start with novel number one, and then of course move your way up. And
Yeah,
it runs about like $35.
there. Yeah, I was gonna suggest that to her too if she could get it on online somehow, because Amazon will ship internationally.
Yeah. So I mean, now for when it comes to books, comics, and stuff, now online is the way to go. I mean, there's hardly ever any bookstore, which is a shame because I love bookstores, and there's just not really any over here.
Yeah, a lot of my comics that I use for my comic readings, I have to get digitally, which, I could get them in hard copy, but, it's kind of a hassle. You got to wait for them to either come in the mail or you have to deal with them not being in the store when you're right there. So, like, it is a hassle, but.
Yeah, and then you can also get the Walking Dead single issues digitally, too. So if Vinicky wants to do that, could do that as well.
Oh, the Walking Dead ones are digital?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some sites that have digital on there.
Okay, there you go.
So thank you, Vinicky. Thank you for the question. What did you think about Negan in this episode?
I mean, Negan was Negan. I was really hyped about Jeffrey Dean Morgan's performance in season 7. Towards the second half, after the break of season 7, I was kind of lost on it, and maybe it's just because I'm not used to the comic Negan. It might make more sense to me, but I don't know. It just comes off really.
Honestly, comic book Negan and TV show Negan are pretty different.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty. There's the same. Yeah, comic book Negan's so much more over the top, while Jeffrey D. Morgan is more realistic.
I guess what I have a hard time grasping is, aside from the fear factor, why anyone would really want to follow him. They could really easily overthrow somebody like that if you think about it. The majority versus him.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he does has charisma, he does have charm, but he doesn't have with what kind of Andrew Lincoln has as Rick, why people would follow Rick, and especially with the characters that are surrounding Rick. I think with the Saviors, the reason why we don't understand why they would follow Negan is because we really don't know the Saviors. We only know a couple of them. We really don't know. Most of the time when they show, which I absolutely hate, when they show the Saviors, especially in this episode, when they showed, they had that one walker chained up, and then you had that one Savior, and then you had, most of the Saviors are just really just assholes. They're like a bike. They're kind of a biker gang.
Maybe that's what it is, and I think that's what made me realize how you just said that. They just kind of seem like the stereotypical henchmen of the villain, if that makes any sense.
They are. They're all henchmen. There's no personality to them. And the only personality that we have with the Saviors is Simon, Dwight, Eugene. Eugene's now Negan.
Eugene is not drink the Kool-Aid. I just have to put that out there. I don't believe it at all. I mean, he's a victim of circumstance.
But the problem is, he betrayed Rick still. Of course, he'll probably do something to help Rick in the gang where it turns this war to another side, and that's where Eugene will come back to the saving grace. But the problem is Eugene. I think at this point, I don't think anybody really kind of likes him, character-wise. I think everybody's like this asshole, But we'll see. We'll see going on to the future, because I believe, like what you said, is he'll probably do something where they'll change the tides. But he's such a weenie. He's such a weenie. It's just like frustrating. He's such a weenie, man.
Another character I'd like to go into is Gabriel.
Yeah. So Gabriel in this episode too. Before we get to Gabriel, we'll get into this. We'll get to that scene where so we were talking about Negan and how Rick was confronting Negan, and how Rick and his crew just managed to shoot just a bunch of windows out instead
Yeah.
of hit any of the saviors. That particular scene, we had Gregory come out and say, you know, tell the hilltop, stand down or your ass ain't coming home because
Yeah.
I'm the leader. And I don't know what the hell he was thinking, because now it's obvious that Maggie's the leader. So Gregory, what an idiot. What an idiot. What a douche. Simon pushing him down. And I thought it was interesting that they didn't show him like die when he got pushed down, because that led to Gabriel and him they're making a stupid ass move as well.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing about, and here's why I'm not on board with people just disliking Eugene for what he's done. Because when you have someone like Gregory that's clearly, you know, out for themselves and doesn't really care about the greater good, for him to just fly away to Negan like that and expect that pass or get out of jail free card, and that just because he stands out there, and it's clear that the moment he arrived to Negan that he wasn't there on invitation. He was essentially a prisoner. He became a tool to kind of get everyone to stand down. But you know, they're tired of that. They appreciate Maggie for what she's done. They see her as the leader that they need, and to think that Negan had any chance of getting Gregory to make them stand down, just I don't know.
I'm surprised Negan didn't kill Gregory right there.
Because he's got no purpose, you know?
Yeah, of course. I don't know why I said that, because of the script just landed right in front of Negan, where Gregory is supposed to weasel his way out again in Gabriel's car. God, I mean, Gabriel, I did not like him in the comics. I didn't hate him in a TV show, but this moment's like, why, Gabriel? Why?
Yeah.
Why go after this piece of shit? I get it. You're the man of the cloth. I get it. But you should have known that he was gonna betray you when you should just know. You should have just knew that nothing was gonna save Gregory, and what he did, you know, he had to account for his sins.
I almost felt like that was I mean, I understand that Gabriel is definitely brave because courage was something he lacked during his introduction. I understand that he is acting on the newfound bravery that he has, but I feel like going out of his way, especially for Gregory. I mean, I understand just, you know, someone else, you know, but for Gregory, I felt like that was out of his new character to do that.
Yeah, he definitely is trying to prove himself and be part of the, especially with the, he seems to be, he seems to be captured all the time too. I think this is like the third time, because after that whole scene, that whole fiasco with Gregory taking his car, you see Gabriel, which by all means, realistically, how he got away from that zombie horde, that dude should have been dead. He like sideswipes a zombie's hand out of the way, moves to the right, finds his way out. But like these zombies, if it's any other character, if it's any other secondary character, they're dead. They're right there. They're dead. But for some reason, Gabriel's able to succeed in getting away from there, get into this little, I forgot what it was. It was like maybe an RV or something like that. And then guess who's there? Negan.
I have to comment on that real quick, because I believe that's a comment I made out loud to myself when I was watching that episode. The walkers just seem super lazy. And I'm not talking about when the horde was walking towards the compound. I'm talking about in the moment, you know, they used to run at you. I mean, season 2, season 3, I mean, you had to freaking book it to get away from those mothers, because you found yourself surrounded by 4, and that was a big problem.
Yeah,
but I mean, there's 80 of them in front of you, and you're just dodging, and they're not even putting their arms out towards you. I mean,
doesn't that make Dale's death so stupid now? Like, it makes it so dumb how Dale died with one zombie But when it comes to Gabriel outlasting this big old zombie horde, like they should have killed Gabriel off right there. There is maybe one little purpose that Gabriel has maybe in the future, but they could have killed him off right there. There should have been a major death in this episode. If you watch the episode, there's no death. There's no major deaths.
Yeah.
Even with the shootout, when it comes to Rick and his crew shooting Negan and his crew, nobody dies. Nobody dies. The windows die. The windows die, and that's it. And then you see Rick constantly shooting at Negan because Negan's injured. He's like hiding. He's trying to take cover. And who was it? It was Gabriel. It was Gabriel, wasn't it? Gabriel telling Rick, it's not all about you. Motherfucker, it's all about Negan. Go after Negan. There he is. Get him. Yes.
A problem that I have as well, that, and this is something that like used to be a major concern in previous seasons, but now, even though they stormed one of the Savior's what do you call it, outposts, and they were able to get the armory and they were able to get some weapons and stuff like that. So your bullets are gonna not be infinite. I don't buy that for a minute. So they're shooting out a bunch of windows. You know, they're Carol and a bunch of people come up and start firing a ton of bullets at a vehicle, and I'm like, what are you shooting at? You're all firing at once. These semi-autos, you're losing 80 bullets a minute. Like, why are you doing that? You're wasting all your resources. But I'm supposed to believe that they just have a ton of ammunition for all of these guns that they found. I mean, Alexandria is a better living situation than they've ever had, but I don't believe for a minute that those solar panels are providing enough electricity for everything that they do. I don't believe that they have enough ammunition for all the stuff that they're doing. It just seems like, I don't know. I'm a realist, and I don't take that.
I love how you said that right now, because that's exactly how I felt when I was watching the episode. I'm like, what? Stop shooting. Stop shooting. Stop shooting. You're not shooting at anything. Stop shooting. Compose yourself. Regroup. Reload if you have to reload. And then move forward. Why? What are you shooting at? That's why I thought this whole episode was just fake and phony to me.
Yeah.
They're not, first of all, I pin it on a direction. I pin it on the writing. I pin it on Scott Gimble. This is what makes me upset about The Walking Dead. Where the previous, these previous seasons, like especially season number 1, how it was not really all about more of the people that you had to worry about. It's more of the zombies you had to worry about. But with it just blows my mind how we still have to talk about like they don't learn the lesson. Any of the writers, or Scott Gimble, why do we have to complain about this crew shooting out, wasting bullets and stuff? They should automatically know, like, okay, it's common sense. It's common sense when you read a script. It's common sense when you're out there and you see nobody in those windows and you see nobody like anywhere near what they're shooting at. Like, maybe the director should have said, like, this doesn't make sense, See,
and I would be that asshole on the set, and I would be making statements like that. They would be like, does somebody have the HBO snipers on hand to put this girl out because she won't stop? Because that would be something that I would bring up. And I mean, just preparing for something like that, if I was a leader, that'd be a huge conversation to have, is, safeguarding ammunition. Because what if you fail? Okay, so let's take the ending, for example. How much ammunition are they supposedly supposed to have left after that shootout? And what did they accomplish? What did they really accomplish? So moving into the rest of the war, I mean, I'm supposed to believe that they've got all the stuff that they need for this war.
And that's the thing. Like, they could have ended the war right there. Negan was right there. Rick knew he was right there.
Why didn't he just shoot him? Like, that's what I don't like. They want to have this standoff pissing contest. I'm getting upset now. They want to have this pissing contest between Rick and Negan, okay? And Rick had a clear shot. Negan only walks out with his bat.
Yes. And a lot of people have been commenting this on the online. Like, once Negan comes out with his little swag and his Lucille,
Yep.
shoot him. What do you why do you need to hear what he has to say? Shoot him. Rick has said he said constantly in this episode and in the damn recap of the last episode that he was going to kill Negan. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's why I think this season Negan's dead. I don't think in the comic he's still alive. In the TV series, I think they're gonna kill off Negan, hands down.
I hope it's soon, because I'm gonna be honest with you, Dan. I can't take that the lack of realism in a situation like that. Rick watched Negan beat to death Abraham and Glenn. And I'm supposed to believe that after spending a whole season on Daryl being torn up, Maggie being torn up, Rick being torn up, Sasha being torn up, and eventually dying because of it, and he's got him 20 feet ahead of him, and he's not going to take that shot.
Exactly. It was Gabriel, right? It was Gabriel that told him that. It was Gabriel, because that's how Gabriel got pinned down too. He was the last to leave. So it's kind of on Gabriel's shoulders too. It was Gabriel's fault. Oh man, I mean, I don't want to be frustrated with The Walking Dead. I don't
either. And I'm gonna go a step further and say Carol and Daryl is never gonna happen now.
No, they're not. I knew they were gonna happen.
The reason I believed it was because of the previous character building that they were doing between them. And I think at one point in time, they were considering that. The writers were considering it, and then they just dropped it. And then the characters went their own separate ways. So I feel like it's not my fault that I believe this. I feel like I believe it because I was led to believe that would be a possibility. And I wasn't a hardcore shipper to begin with, but I really liked the idea. I enjoyed the development that happened between them. And now, if either one of them died, I don't think I would really shed a tear, to be honest. And I can't believe I'm saying that.
Because they're so far gone, and there just hasn't been anything. Even Carol hasn't really gotten that much to do. I mean, last season she was just sulking most of the time. Now she's part of the war. But with Carol, she's done so many things, and she's a cold-blooded kind of killer, honestly. I do like the relationship that she has with Ezekiel. I think that's very they have great conversations back and forth. But if Carol dies, I think it's still one of those like, well, Carol's dead. You know, Carol, she had a good go. She had a good run. But you're right. I want to not shed a tear. With Daryl, you know, at this point, like I said, Daryl is just not getting. They're wasting him. Yeah, the flame is almost gone. Just, you know, Norman Reedus probably feels the same way. Norman Reedus is probably like, no, if you don't need me, then just kill me off at this point.
I almost feel like if I were in that position, I would feel the same way, because it's keeping these people from doing bigger things. Look at Sonequa Martin Green, for example. We found out that she was going to be, you know, a lead in, I think it was Star Trek.
Yeah, it was Star Trek.
Yeah. Super excited for her. So when I knew that her character was going to go, I was like, awesome. That means like she can find some fantastic work. You know, she can keep doing what she's doing. But honestly, if this is what they're doing with Daryl, if this is what we're doing with Carol, I would rather that Melissa McBride and Norman Reedus just be allowed to let go and not only just focus on being with their families more, because this show is an extensive project to do all the time, every year, but just do passion projects, do more movies and things that they want to do. And instead of just being tied into a contract every year for something that they're not going to be able to shine in.
And I can see HBO picking up Norman Reedus for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I could see HBO picking him up if he were to go. Or AMC wanting to stick with Norman Reedus and give him his own kind of different show that they're maybe like in the works of. But going back to this episode real quick.
Oh no, we can get so fired up over it.
Yeah, I mean, people are probably saying, you know, it's a zombie show. You know, it doesn't have to be a realistic this and that. You're right. It's people rising from the dead. It's people being marksmen, you know, in such little time. But, you know, it's like the Fast and the Furious, right? The Fast and the Furious was good when it was realistic in the beginning, and then it got a little bit more unrealistic, but you still was kind of sticking with it. But then it just got way over too ridiculous, and you're like, I don't need this shit anymore. That's how The Walking Dead kind of, to me, is, where it was grounded. It started getting parts here and there, and then now it's just getting frustrating at the point where, like, what, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this should still be written. Just because it is a zombie apocalypse doesn't mean that it has to have bad writing or unrealistic situations.
And Greg Nicotero, they've got an amazing, talented person on their team, and I've always loved the effects. I mean, even if I can sit here and complain about how the zombies didn't look like they were really trying to go after Gabriel or, you know, something like that, the design, I feel like I'm in it. I feel like these guys look like they've been rotting and all that stuff.
Oh, the shots with just the close-up of some of these walkers are beautiful, but that's exactly what they are. They're just shots. They're just close-ups. They don't utilize these walkers at all. And it's just, I mean, I'll go to Game of Thrones again. Game of Thrones, they had their White Walkers, and I thought this one particular character named Tormund was going to get ripped to shreds.
Yeah.
It had me like shitting my pants. I'm like, no, like that's what I want my walkers in The Walking Dead to do. I want them to be a threat like that, but they're not.
What season was it? Was it season 6? Maggie was struggling to get up this ladder at the top of the wall, and I, for a minute, like I started freaking out because it was actually the way that it lined up. It was like a certain number episode in one season, her dad died, and the same number in the next season, Beth died. And then this particular number of this season I was like, Maggie could possibly die right now. Like, I'm shitting my pants. Just for her trying to get up that ladder and the walkers reaching at her legs and stuff. And, you know, they're stretching up to get her. And then Gabriel just kind of like, and Gregory just saunter by and they're like,
I know exactly. Is that how it is right there?
That is. It's like, I'll get you eventually.
So such a perfect special expression right there. Voiceover. Perfect voiceover
work. I'm working on it.
Dubbing it.
Yep.
Speaking of Maggie, you know, Maggie's taking this leadership role now for the Hilltop. Was gonna happen. Doesn't look pregnant to me, honestly.
And here's what I've been trying to work out in my head. And I think back to when I was pregnant. I didn't show like where you could really guess that I was pregnant, and almost until I found out my daughter was going to be a girl. So it just, and she's a slim girl, Maggie. Oh, yeah. And some people's bodies respond differently to that. So I could let that go.
Yeah. And they did mention about a doctor being in the kingdom too, if she ever needed it. But they're going to get their doctor back. So, I mean, it's good that Maggie's taking the leadership role since Glenn's death. That's exactly what I thought was going to happen. The speech, because towards the end of this episode, and then Rick takes a picture of Negan.
Yeah.
Which I think is just to like showcase that Negan's not immortal, basically. To rally up some troops and stuff.
In his weak moment, do you think he's gonna? We're gonna see the junkyard people. You think that's what that's for?
Well, the junkyard people's on Negan's side.
I didn't even see them, and that's the thing. I mean, I didn't see any of their civilians. I just saw, and this is what bugged me too. Imagine you're the leader, right? And this huge group just rolls in on you, and you walk out with a hostage and like 3-4 other people. And you're telling me that you don't have shooters in your windows. You're telling me that you don't have anyone else in vantage points ready to take this on. I mean, you just come out with 5 people and think that you're going to talk this situation down? Exactly.
Like, I think a lot of people are screaming on the internet too, like how Negan should know that Rick's on his way. How are they able to easily bypass everybody even with Dwight's help, it still should be like a little resistance. Like, where is everybody? You
So
know?
they showed everyone taking out their little
Yeah, the little posts, but
yeah, the little
but where's
scout.
the junkyard people? Where's
That's
the people in front of that damn compound? Why is Negan walking out with nothing on? Like it doesn't make any sense.
I wanted to rip that leather jacket off him too. I was like, you're not cool in this moment right now. I was really upset. And we got to see when Daryl was on the inside the scale of the population. Their civilian population within the Savior's compound. And yeah. I was just like, so where is everybody?
Exactly. How Negan said, are you sure your numbers
yeah.
I'm like, what fucking numbers? You guys are pretty much equal. Like the way I'm looking at it, there's nobody outside.
We have the upper hand here. Can you count? Like,
yeah, it was just, man, like it's like why? Like why do I have to keep complaining about this shit?
I feel you. And here's the thing. I mean, we've been watching this for so long, and I think that's what frustrates us the most. And I think there's a difference when it comes to what type of viewer you are. You either think it's amazing because it's The Walking Dead, or you have that ability to see things that could have been improved, and it frustrates you when they're not improved upon, especially because you want to see the show succeed. You don't want to find out 2 days after the premiere episode what the ratings looked like. It hurts you because you know that could have been fixed.
Yeah, I mean that's the most frustrating thing is like, you know, that the series could be so much more, but it still wants to be lackluster. It still wants to be just a normal, like, kind of sitcom on TV. It's not a dramatic masterpiece like it used to be. It's not up there with Better Call Saul. It's not up there with Breaking Bad. It's not up there with even FX's Sons of Anarchy. It's not up there. It's not up there because of just the writing. It's just terrible.
Yeah, I agree with the writing. And the problem with writing, Dan, is that not necessarily every episode, but almost, when it comes to writing a TV series, each episode should have a beginning, a climax, and, you know, and an ending point. And if it has to be done in a way that your ending point is in the next episode, but the 2 episodes together form a complete arc, like something is established, something is accomplished, and something is reflected upon. And I don't see that. I don't see a proper story arc being written in each episode. And that's what bugs me, because I'm like, where are we going with this? And then there's stuff that's established and stuff that's never brought up later.
Exactly. I mean, I guarantee you, going on after the whole episode was done, after all the speeches were made,
yeah,
going forward, at one point, I don't think, I bet you they're going to still do those stupid side missions. Those episodes where we're going to be put with a certain amount of characters. Not everybody's going to be there doing something that's just kind of boring. I like bet you that's going to happen.
Yep. Listen, to use the what is it, Oceanside or something like that.
Oh yeah, the Amazon women.
Yeah, so they devoted an entire episode to Tara. You know who I would have liked to get that mission? I would have liked to see Rosita get that mission, because I'm trying to love Rosita, but I'm not given that opportunity. I would have loved to have Rosita take that on, because that would have required her to put down her guard and not be so aggressive. That would have changed who she was. Why wasn't that given to Rosita?
Going back to the episode real quick, I just love how they still make you linger about Heath.
See, they're never going to go back to that.
Stupid.
And Tara was upset about it. She was so worried about getting back and then finding out if he made it or if he made it back. And then, okay, so we saw the card she picked up that said PPP. They faked us out with a walker that looked like Heath, but it wasn't. And I was starting to like Heath. He and Glenn had a moment where they were making their first kills, and, you know, it was kind of like a thing. And I'm like, okay, so if we're going to lose another character, I need another character who is not as strong, but I could see get strong and replace that. Like Aaron. I was loving Aaron.
Oh, Aaron got sideswiped.
Yeah. Fuck.
I don't need more characters. I need characters dwindling now. I need a small group like how they used to have it.
But I don't need a group of people that I'm not connected with.
That's the thing. Now that you have a small group, now you can focus on the people you are connected with, because we're talking about, you know, Daryl and Carol and not getting their due. And even Morgan in this episode, he's starting to kill now. Okay, that's interesting. Now Morgan knows that. Morgan is back to where he needs to be at. And Morgan was one of my favorite characters until he started going loony about not killing and stuff. So, you know, these are characters that still need to put time and effort into, but we can't because we have so many damn characters already. Dwindle it down. I mean, I want you know, one of my favorite characters right now is Ezekiel. I can use more Ezekiel. I
actually would.
Gabriel.
I love Ezekiel, and I really loved it when Carol was trying to sneak out and he just dropped his act and started talking like he normally was. I was like, okay. So because like I said, I'm not familiar with the comics, but I've heard spoilers and just people talking about it and whatever. So I wasn't aware that like this guy's kind of a nut. But then he dropped the act and I was like, okay, this guy's got something.
He's likable. Very likable.
He is. But I don't want to see any more speeches in the next few episodes. I'm done.
I was gonna ask, what did you think about the speeches in this episode?
I wanted it to stop because I saw those in the finale. And then what did they do, Dan, in the beginning of the episode? They started picking up on the speeches.
Yeah. And the speeches weren't really delivered that great. The speeches weren't written that great, honestly.
No, and the problem is though, Dan, is like we talked about the editing briefly, but you get a 2-minute segment of speech and then you cut to that fast forward sequence, which I have to say, I love Weird Al songs and I find them really funny, but that was a poor choice of a song to put in that sequence. I was like, what? Why is this song constantly playing in this scene? I feel like that track was a very bad choice to put in that scene. And they were chopping that scene up with speeches and they were chopping it up with Rick standing behind the barricade and talking to Negan. And I didn't like the editing.
It felt like it was a blender. It felt like it was a blender.
Yeah.
It was being blended together.
What's going on, dude? My brain is trying to make sense of what is happening. And you're looking out because you've been trained to pay attention, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you're trying to pick apart things and you're being skipped to something else.
Yeah, you know, just rethinking, you know, breaking this down and rethinking about, you know, Sunday's episode, it's just it's still a mess. It's still a mess. It still wasn't horrible though. For some reason, to me, it still wasn't horrible. It just a lot of unrealistic things. Like, you know, I think what saved the episode was the acting, was the direction, some of the direction that was used in this episode. And I was kind of looking at some of the callbacks and stuff, especially towards the ending of this episode.
Yeah.
We had that shot with zooming out with Negan and Gabriel trapped. That was reminiscent of the first episode of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
You know, seeing where there were some action sequences that were cool here and there, especially with Daryl, you know, blowing up the barrels and stuff and leading this horde of zombies. The shootout, even though they were just shooting out freaking windows and stuff. I mean, there were still things here and there to keep you engaged. It just was a mess of an episode. And it was just an episode where you're just thinking to yourself, are we still doing this shit over again? Are we still at the end? Next episode, am I going to get the same thing I'm always going to get with this series? Like, at this point, if they keep doing it, there's no fixing it. There's no fixing The Walking Dead. And the reason is because of who's running it. Scott Gimble.
Yeah.
Same guy who wrote Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. This is the
Oh,
guy.
please. Oh, don't remind me of that.
Yeah, this is the guy who's killing it for everybody. He's been a joy. He's been a buzzkill since he got on.
That's the only memory of Ghost Rider I have. I mean, the one time it was on the screen, that's what I got, man.
That's what you got. And this is what you're getting. This is what you're getting. And I really still think they need to fire this guy and get somebody else to run the show, because he did bring it back to where the comic books are headed to, but we're at the point where there was a lot of things changed already from the comics that you didn't have to necessarily keep doing exactly what the comics were doing. But honestly, I just really feel like in order for this show to change for the better, they need to get Gimbal out of here. We'll see though. We'll see how these next couple episodes are. But if this is the same crap I got last season,
Yeah,
you could kiss The Walking Dead goodbye.
you know,
there are 2 seasons in the future.
I need moments that, like when Maggie and Carol were being held hostage by those female saviors, I think is who they were.
Yeah.
And you're watching Carol do her play acting and protect Maggie because she's pregnant, and the two of them, all the rest of the Alexandrians, Rick and everyone, they're like, oh, we're gonna bust you out of there, and we're gonna save you guys. And they show up, and Maggie and Carol walk out, and they're just like, oh, you guys didn't fucking need us. All right, that was cool. Okay, there was like a bonding, there was a sisterhood and development, and Carol walks out, and Daryl's like, what'd they do? And she's like, they didn't do nothing to us. Like, yeah. I don't get those anymore.
You need the OG characters, at least a couple episodes with them being with each other and interacting with each other, because I just feel like it's been so long since, like, you had like the OG characters really truly together. You see them kind of spread out interacting with these new characters, which I think they're trying to do on purpose. But you don't get those, Rick and Daryl, Rick and Carol, or Maggie and Daryl, or anything like that. You don't get those.
Show me a major character interacting with a mid character. Show me Michonne really digging into Rosita and getting to the root of that problem, and making her feel like she still has a place but can go about it a different way. Show me
Tara dying.
Please. I don't care how it is.
You know what? The thing about Michonne was like, and we were talking about this, is Michonne is like that motherly figure to Carl.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that, and then I forgot about it. But
I would love to see that. I would love to see Michonne with Carl a lot more, yes. Especially with Carl like kind of growing up. I would love to see, because Michonne is not her personality is nowhere near like the comics. She's more smiling. She's more joking around. Michonne is such a likable character too, that show me more Michonne with other characters. Show me, like you said, show me a character who's down in the, just like, depressed or whatever. Show me Michonne cheer them up, because Michonne is the type of person to do that.
And I loved that bonding moment that Carl had with Michonne when Carl went out on his own to get that picture from the restaurant, and he wanted Judith to be able to see their mom, I think it was.
Yeah.
And she shows up, and he's like, I didn't need you to be here. And she's like, well, I mean, I'll just be standing by. I'm just watching, kind of just hanging out. And it became a real bonding moment for them. And I fell in love with Michonne so much more because I saw her taking in Carl as her son. And I would love to see more of that. I would love to see more Michonne looking out for Carl and just giving him the room, but holding back just in case, instead of Rick running in and saying, no, don't do this. You can't do this. It's not safe.
Yeah. That's what I want to see. And I'm hoping we see that later on. Just to say too, real quick, going because you saying about that Michonne moment, we had great moments over the Walking Dead years. We had even the low points of the season and stuff. There's still some great moments here and there. That was another one. But going back to also season 1 and season 2, one of my favorite characters who bit the dust, I think, pretty early, I think they should have changed it up, was Shane. And And
Yeah.
this guy in this season or this episode in the Outpost, this guy looked like Shane. So I don't know if that was a callback or not, because this guy looked like what's his name?
John Bernthal.
Yeah, he looked like John Bernthal. He was one of the ones that gets killed. So I thought that was kind of funny. Just throwing that out there real quick.
And you're right that, I mean, past seasons we've had some really great moments, but the overall collective of how many of those great moments were in one season were much higher. You know, even if you had one bottle episode that didn't sit with you very well, the overall good episodes in that one season usually outweighed that. And I feel like season 7, there was just way too many not good episodes, and it just didn't even out the good moments that we did get.
Season 7 was shit to me. Like I don't even remember what honestly really happened in season 7. Only the premiere.
That's the thing, like you can tell me how awesome the governor stuff was in certain parts. You can tell me how interesting it was when certain characters got introduced, like how Glenn was introduced, or you know how Carol was able to stand up to her husband. And you can tell me what it was like with the prisoners trying to deal, like when they were in the prison and they were dealing with that sickness that broke out. It was different than the walkers. It was something internally they had to deal with.
Yeah.
And what can you tell me awesome that happened in season 7?
other than that season premiere, other than that season premiere, with Negan's introduction. Is there anything else that we missed in this episode?
I mean, I'm pretty spent at this point. I just really don't know what we're going to do with ourselves. I'm still hoping we're going to get proven wrong, though, Dan. I'm hoping that we'll be eating these words, but we probably won't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a low chance that we will be eating these words. I mean, I've been hearing that Fear the Walking Dead season 3 was much more entertaining than a lot of the previous Walking Dead seasons.
I'm picking Fear up after season 8.
I think I'm gonna see what all the commotion's about. So I stopped in the middle of season 2. No, maybe the end of season 2. I think the middle of season 2. So I'll pick it back up and then watch season 3. See how that is.
One thing before we go, do you think that starting Fear took away from what we have for The Walking Dead?
No, because Fear was shit. Fear was shit, like in the first 2 seasons, and now season 3 is actually picking up.
Running the 2 at the same time, basically. Do you think that was a mistake?
No, because it's just 2 different times. Because The Walking Dead is the... So let's say, I guess I put it in convention terms. Fear the Walking Dead is the WonderCon, where it starts such in the beginning of the year that like it doesn't mess up your San Diego Comic-Con experience, you know?
Yeah.
So I put it in convention terms, but you know, Fear. I'm gonna watch season 3 and see how it is. But if they're doing ballsy moves, and I hear they're killing a lot of their original characters, and that was a problem with I had with Fear, was their actual characters that were on there. If Fear is doing a lot of good stuff other than The Walking Dead, I mean, Walking Dead, you start looking like, you know, why is Fear more entertaining than your ass? Like
the OG show.
The OG show, and you probably have a bigger budget, bigger stars, you know, a lot more probably that you could do with it. Maybe, and also it might be fatigue. You know, Walking Dead is not as big as it used to be because when it hit, like it was something different. It was, you know, zombies were coming in and like, oh yeah, zombies, this and that. But now that we're 8 seasons into this, you know, it's fatigue. It's maybe a lot of people are like kind of tired of it and want something different. I mean, Westworld, I can't wait for season 2, you know. But it's, I don't know. It's something's gotta. I'm hoping this season's not this. We're not going to get the same thing from last season, and I hope that all the bullshit that the actors talk about, how like this is going to blow your mind, this and that.
And here's where I kind of sympathize with the cast, because you're on a press tour and you're doing interviews. You're your job is to hype up the work that you're doing. So I kind of feel for the cast when they get a script and they can't really voice their opinion on how they actually felt about it, and they have an interview and they have to say, oh, this season is going to be amazing, like, all this and that. And I mean, it kind of makes me feel bad that's part of their job, is to hype it up.
Yeah, I think Norman Reedus even said, like, when they were asking him, like, oh, dude, what happened last season? He said it was going to be dope. And he's like, oh, yeah, that was kind of whatever.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you just use Kit Harington, for example. He couldn't obviously spill the beans that he was going to be coming back to life, but everyone was so pissed. Like, I mean, people with common sense weren't, but a lot of people were like, you lied, you're such a liar, and all this and that. And he had to come out and apologize. And it's like, leave him alone. That's his job.
Yeah, it's you got to feel for the actors, especially I think the actors are not, they're human beings. They know that it's the work that
they know what they're getting. Of course they do.
Yeah, they probably see that a lot of people, a lot of fans and stuff are not too happy about where it's been going. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan, poor Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he knew when he took those, he knew when he had to kill Glenn and Abraham. And he told everybody, he's like, I'm ready for all the flack. I'm ready for all the heat to come at me.
What I didn't appreciate is, I think his name is Josh Duhamel, or no, not Josh Duhamel, Josh something. He plays Eugene.
Yeah.
The intense reaction to what his character was written to do came into his personal life. And I didn't appreciate that mob mentality of not being able to distinguish a human being from a character they're playing in a fictional show. The internet went way too far, and I didn't appreciate that in that circumstance.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing, that it's cool to be a celebrity, but then it's not cool to be a celebrity. I
mean,
it's
hard to break down human emotion and put it into like a rationalization for how people react to those emotions, but he's a human being. You have to be able to distinguish between fiction and reality.
Yeah, people, I'm a human being too, damn it, so stop harassing me. If you want pictures that cost $20.
My God.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I think we've pretty much touched on.
We did
really everything. We did a lot of bitching, but
yeah, I mean, I would say it is what it is. It is what it is. We'll see going forward where this is taking us. We'll see if it's going to get better. If it gets better, we won't have to bitch so much. If it gets better, we'll talk about the good things.
Yeah, I'd rather be completely open and honest about how we are feeling, instead of sitting here and being like, oh, wasn't it amazing? It was such an amazing, they're doing such a great job. Instead of, really being able to express how we feel. And that's what I like about our discussions.
Actually, when you said that, the thing I wanted to point out real quick too was that George Romero has said that The Walking Dead is shit before he passed. He said it so many times, like, I hate The Walking Dead. And then what does Scott Gimple do? He not only does a speech, but he puts George Romero's name at the end of this episode. In memoriam,
yeah. I noticed that too, because I know we did lose some people in the production of season 8, or during the production of season 8.
Oh yeah, the stunt person too.
Yeah, stunt person as well. And I mean, what a terrible thing to feel about a show that you worked on, and that be how you feel about it before you go.
Well, George Romero, like this guy is the creator of the zombie, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Living Dead. This guy did it all. He's the one that you wouldn't have The Walking Dead without this guy. But when it came to his zombie movies, it was social commentary of the world that we're living in today. So with The Walking Dead, it's more of what would happen if the actual zombie apocalypse happened. So he made he didn't hold any punches. Every time they asked him, like, what do you think about The Walking Dead? He would say, I hate it. It's a drama. It's a soap opera. Essentially it is.
Yeah.
I just felt like Scott Gimple, I get what they're trying to do. Like, oh, this is the creator of the whole, zombie universe. But leave his name out of it. If he didn't like you, then he doesn't want you to put his name on there. Just leave him out of it. It's like saying like freaking P. Diddy honoring Tupac. Tupac didn't like you. Don't be honoring him. But yeah, it was definitely it was interesting how I thought that was an interesting little thing they did. I didn't like it. But anyway, so yeah, we're gonna till next episode. We'll see how everything goes. We'll see what's up with Gabriel and Negan trapped in where they're trapped in. We'll see what happened, what Rick's next move is, even though he could have ended the war right there and then. We'll see. We'll see what's going to happen in upcoming episodes of The Walking Dead. I want to thank Taylor. Thank you, Taylor, for joining me on this breakdown, and thank you for complaining about this episode as much as I have.
You're very welcome. I'm more than happy to come out here and complain with you.
What is there? You could definitely go check out her channel. She does a lot of Sons of Anarchy videos. Great videos. Great character analysis. Great. The comic book reading is pretty awesome too. So what's the next project, Taylor?
I'm still doing a lot of Mayans MC production updates. They've completed day 4 of the pilot reshoot. We should have another 2 weeks left of that, and then that pilot will be sent back to FX for review, and then we'll just wait for production to pick up again in the spring. And on the sidelines, I'm working on talking a lot about the first 9. I have some videos coming up about that I'm excited to get into, because we might be seeing the first 9 in between seasons of Mayans.
That I wouldn't doubt that either. The first 9, of course, everybody wanted that spin-off to happen before Mayans. But Mayans could be a great thing to come our way. I can't wait. I'm excited for it still, even though it is having some, reshooting the whole pilot over again. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. For me, I am still behind some stuff. I should have more free time now that a lot of my business is taken care of for the year. So I'm looking to catch up on Star Wars Rebels and get those reviews out. I'm looking to, of course, American Horror Stories on tonight, so I'll be doing a review on that. And then we got Thor Ragnarok on the way, so I'll be doing a review on Thor Ragnarok and see if it's the best Thor movie they made, or even if it's the best Marvel movie. So a lot of things on my plate. We're gonna, of course, I'm gonna be doing a Walking Dead giveaway. Either I believe this coming up Sunday, I'm gonna have a giveaway going on. A couple giveaways actually going on in the future. So just look out for it. We're still chugging along here. So
it's a process, but we enjoy it for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be doing it anymore. Exactly. I love doing it. So, so thank you, Taylor. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed our breakdown of Mercy. Until next episode, we are out. Until next time we talk, The Walking Dead. See you guys.